From the beginning of the second day's journey, Lu Xinrui could feel the fatigue accumulating in her body. Among the 14 seasoned members of the hunting team, 11 had undergone the black spot transformation. Logically, Lu Xinrui, having also undergone the black spot transformation, should have better stamina than the 3 who hadn't. However, it was evident that those 3 were more experienced, allowing them to manage their energy better and recover more effectively. In the end, it came down to Lu Xinrui not yet being accustomed to the life of the hunting team. Despite sleeping soundly the previous night, she woke up feeling sore all over, especially in her shoulders, which felt completely stiff. Bloodblade suggested she ride on the raft and let Ama pull her along, but Lu Xinrui refused. Making matters worse, it started raining shortly after they set off that day. Although the rain stopped by noon, Lu Xinrui keenly felt the hardships of the hunting team. Without dry wood for a fire, they could only eat the dried meat they brought. While the rain wouldn't easily make them, who had undergone the second transformation, fall ill, the cold rainwater did sap their body heat, forcing them to wait for the rain to stop. Lu Xinrui overheard the hunters talking among themselves. Many believed this might be their last hunt before the rainy season set in, as continuous rain would make movement impossible. Once the rain stopped, they resumed their journey, but the muddy riverbank made walking extremely difficult. In addition to walking, they had to exert extra effort to pull their feet out of the mud. The only silver lining was that the rain had driven most animals away from the river, reducing the risk of attacks. However, the one most affected was Ayama. The rain increased the river's water volume, making it harder to pull the raft upstream. Lu Xinrui could see that Ayama was struggling more than before. After dealing with the delay from the rain and the difficult journey, Big Bear found a suitable spot to camp earlier than usual. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Though they had only covered about 2/3 of the distance they did the previous day, the physical toll was far greater than expected. The spot Big Bear found was a hollow tree trunk of a giant tree. The tree looked long dead, with no leaves and a burned outer layer, likely from a past lightning strike. It had a diameter of 7 or 8 meters, just enough to squeeze everyone inside. This tree hollow was a far cry from the ones they used at the camp. The camp's tree hollows emitted a natural fragrance and repelled insects, while this one was damp, dark, and smelled of decay. However, being long dead, it was at least free of insects. Everyone went out to find burnable wood, but the results were not promising. By nightfall, they had gathered only about 1/3 of what they had the previous day. Lu Xinrui estimated that the firewood would last until midnight at best. "Captain, what do we do tonight?" Bloodblade asked Big Bear. Without a fire, there was no deterrent. Although the hunters had powder that emitted a repellent smell, its effectiveness would be limited with so many people gathered in one place. "We'll just have to be extra vigilant during the night watch," Big Bear said, frowning. "You, Aoyama, Sharui, and those who haven't undergone the second transformation don't need to take watch tonight." Surprisingly, the only one to object was Clown. "Ace and I are still good." Big Bear scrutinized them. Perhaps due to their different ethnic background, the two foreign brothers indeed looked like they had energy to spare. "All right, you to take the last watch. Rest well before then." The others had no objections. Bloodblade had watched 2 shifts the previous night, and his strength wasn't his main asset. Ayama had exerted himself significantly and couldn't afford to collapse, and Lu Xinrui was still adjusting to this life, making it unwise for her to push herself too hard. To prevent smoke from filling the tree hollow, tonight's fire was set several meters away from the entrance. For dinner, they managed to have some hot meat soup, which made Lu Xinrui realize how precious warmth was. She lay down at the very back, observing the others' sleeping positions. Unlike the previous night, she lay on her back, not curled up on her side. Perhaps due to exhaustion, the night's events didn't wake her. It wasn't until morning that she noticed that Clown and Ace had new tooth pendants around their necks. To ensure they finished hunting before the rainy season set in, they quickened their pace on the 3rd day. "Speed up. After this hunt, we'll head straight back to camp," Big Bear ordered. According to Bloodblade, they were supposed to reach the hunting plains by noon on the 3rd day. After hunting, they'd ride the raft downstream, back to the camp. Lu Xinrui found this odd. Based on their pace, it should take 2.5 days to reach the plains, half a day to rest and set traps, then complete the hunt on the fourth day and return to the raft starting point by afternoon. From there, it would take another half-day to reach the camp. Normally, this meant they'd return by the fourth evening or fifth day at the latest. Yet, each hunting trip took 7 or more days. So what were they doing during those extra days? If they had no other tasks, why was the hunting team's return delayed? It seems you've realized, BB, one of her team members said meaningfully. Hunting isn't our only task. We are also responsible for scouting surrounding areas. If we survived, other humans might have too. Our mission is to find other settlements. Unfortunately, we haven't found any yet. Garen, another member, added, it's not a secret, but if the merchant knew, he'd complain about wasting manpower on pointless tasks, so we rarely mention it. I understand. I won't say anything, Lu Xinrui replied gratefully. Clearly, they had accepted her based on her performance, even though they didn't need to tell her about this extra task. Although she had little contact with the merchant, she had heard about him. Pragmatic to a fault, he could come off as somewhat callous. By the afternoon of the third day, the forest thinned out. We're almost at the hunting plains. Having seen nothing but forests since waking up, Lu Xinrui was curious about the plains. After passing through the last dense thicket, they finally reached their destination. Is this the hunting plains? Lu Xinrui was incredulous. There were no animals in sight. The area wasn't a vast, open grassland but rather a half-meter-tall grassy expanse dotted with water-filled pits, resembling a lifeless swamp. The other hunters exchanged glances. Just days ago, this had been an ordinary plain. It's the rain, Big Bear said grimly. Though they had only encountered one rainstorm, it didn't mean it was the only rain here. The rainy season was approaching, and the rain clouds moved from the plains towards the camp. The weather was highly variable, even in the forest, with frequent sudden showers. The plain, being primarily grassland, couldn't retain water and soil like the forest, turning into a marsh after heavy rain. Walking along the swamp, they found a small calf-sized animal soaking in a pond. Compared to the massive herbivores they hunted, this was clearly a newborn. It hadn't been dead long, fully submerged in water, its skin pale and swollen. The clear water, free of contamination, revealed the corpse, making Lu Xinrui realize the water was much deeper than she had thought. It got stuck in the mud, couldn't pull its hooves out, and drowned, Bloodblade observed from a distance. Big Bear looked around the now swampy plain, his expression severe. We're heading back. Abort the hunt. We're heading back to rest and will return to camp tomorrow on the raft. Most of the hunters looked frustrated. They had come out to hunt, and now, facing a swamp, it seemed an overreaction to turn back. Go back? None of us have experience navigating a swamp. I'm not risking your lives, Big Bear's rare outburst silenced them. The team, acknowledging Big Bear's authority and the risks, followed him back into the forest. This hunt was a disappointment, leaving everyone disheartened at the camp that night. However, they all sensed something unusual. The night passed without a single attack, as if all the animals had vanished. The sudden swamp had driven away most herbivores, and the predators that preyed on them naturally left this lifeless area. On the fourth day, Lu Xinrui finally boarded the raft empty-handed. Though she was disappointed, the prospect of returning filled her with joy. Aoyama tied himself to the raft, readying a long pole for steering. Lu Xinrui joked that he was a jack of all trades, earning agreement from the other hunters. The increased water volume made the return journey swift and thrilling. Lu Xinrui, having been warned to hold on tight, didn't fall off. By mid-morning, they returned earlier than expected. As they approached the last leg of the journey, someone on the shore waved and shouted at them. Hey, it's Hawkeye. A sharp-eyed hunter shouted. What's going on? Big Bear and Aoyama, standing at the front of the raft, exchanged puzzled glances. Why was Hawkeye, the foraging team leader, here?